a Viz shop, not sponsored, just they gave us the courtesy of giving us merch. I do not remember how to do these anymore because it's been so long, but if you guys follow Hunter and I on Twitter, we had a bit of a cry about the idea that, like, we would never do one of these again, you know, because we really thought, like, we were like, guys,
Rooster
it's so
Teeth
over.
is gone.
We didn't know it would be the last time.
Ruby's back. Rooster Teeth is back, seemingly.
Yeah, no, separately, but together, but separately, I
You
suppose.
can't get us down. Doesn't matter if we're both dead in the dirt. Doesn't matter what company goes under. We will always be here.
Exactly.
To do Yass or passes.
And the merch is actually, like, I know it's pretty basic, but what I appreciate is that they seem to have gone into the equivalent of the RWBY vault here and brought back some old stuff.
The company we just bought, and here's some old nostalgic classics.
Yeah, exactly. Like, you have the color block and everything like that. So we are gonna go through piece by piece, but I think it's just like an initial drop where it's like, okay, if you're desperate for RWBY merch, here's what you can buy right now. I think that this stuff is pretty good. Now, is it more expensive than the Rooster Teeth store?
I was about to say that, because a lot of these t-shirts came out, like, that original poster, that had to have come out in, like, 2012.
Yeah.
So, like, I would love to go into the Wayback Machine
and see, like, the inflation.
What the original price is, and see what the past decade has done
you
to
know
the price of that poster.
In order for us to judge if the price is worth it, we would need to know what distributor they have, and as far as I know, not enough people have bought merch yet to tell us, because if you'll remember, when Rooster Teeth was dying, and now in hindsight this makes a lot more sense, right?
Yep.
They started to use Redbubble facilities or factory, like Bella Canvas, to distribute some of the merch at, like, the 11th hour. So if this is worth the price to me will really depend on, like, okay, but is it, like, good quality like the Rooster Teeth store used to be?
From the tags I'm looking at there, it looks like it is actually not like Bella Canvas, so it might be better quality.
But we'll have to, we don't know yet, I guess, is what I'm trying to tell you. I don't know anyway. Because we always complain, like, why is this t-shirt $35? They were usually $35 or $40 Canadian, depending on what it was. I think that now what I'm starting to accept is that, like, the recession is coming. Like, you know what I mean?
The tariffs have landed.
Yeah, so in terms of us and the Canadian prices, we may just be more fucked than you guys are. But I will say, if they had something, like if they had a Neo and Roman shirt, and it was high quality and it was $40, I would be there. Like, my credit card would be inputted, they would have all of my money. And so I think that, like, that's something to keep in mind. So the hat, obviously, classic. I'm not sure how I feel about the white sides, though. I think that's kind of
ugly looking.
Yeah, I don't really love that. I mean, we don't really wear trucker hats anyway, but yeah, I wish this was all black. So I'm gonna give this like a 4.
7,
oh, okay, I was gonna say 5
6.
or 4 out of 10.
And I will say, what is weird is seeing people modeling them that aren't like
part Rooster
of
Teeth people. Like, who is this guy?
Who's this man? You weren't on a podcast.
But yeah, so I'll say, don't get the hat. Like, if you're gonna get anything, I don't think it should be the hat. Now this. I think that this is nice. If you'll remember, they had a emblem collection where they had, like, an emblem blanket, and then they had this, like, horrible looking t-shirt where the little stickers were just, like, randomly put on, and it was awful. Oh my god, but this is actually nice. I like how we're using everybody's decal. I think it might just be Team RWBY and Team Juniper. Yeah, it says RWBY and Juniper patterns right there. For a water bottle, I don't know exactly what they're going for, but, like, this is something, again, if it was more, for me, it's about, like, oh, I like things colorful, so if it was more colorful like the sticker stuff was, I think that that would be, like, an easy cop, but because it's black and white, I'm kind of like, eh. But what do you think?
You know what I will say is that I guess we haven't looked at too many of them in depth yet, but this does kind of feel like when they bought the brand, they kind of got to roll back the clock, and they got to do a lot of the same basic stuff again.
Yeah.
Like, oh, basic sort of silhouette,
like, this is
volume
like the
1
starter
hat.
merch,
yeah,
right?
It's the starter merch. Whereas, like, Rooster Teeth, after, like, 10 years, they're like, ramen bowls?
Yeah, like, they never went back, and so I see what you're saying.
RWBY-themed eyebrow jewelries? ashtrays?
Like, I think that it's basic, but at the same
Zwei
time,
ashtrays.
this is the stuff that we were asking them to do, because when you think about it, if you were not a fan in Volume 1, you were fucked. Like, there was no merch of the Volume 1 and 3 stuff for you after a while,
Yeah, we
right?
did kind of want them to do a best of.
Yeah, or like a
Bringing
throwback.
the band back together, but RWBY merchandise. So I guess that's kind of what this is.
Yeah.
Certainly, I've seen
That's a classic.
Yep.
I do wonder, like, I wish they had...
I've considered buying that at Fan Expo.
I wish they had more of a like, I don't know. This looks at a strange ratio, if that makes sense. So I wish it was a little bigger, but I mean, obviously it could just be like the picture where they hung it up. But yeah, Hunter makes a good point that this has been pirated. If you wouldn't illegally download a poster.
You can
right?
get this same art legally here, or for likely half the price.
Yeah.
On various
But
websites.
you should keep in mind that, like, people shouldn't be selling that because they didn't make the art.
They shouldn't.
Like, you know what I mean?
It's theft. But, like, you know, that's at the end of the day.
Like, that's different than fan art. They're taking the actual,
but,
like, you know.
if you wanted a RWBY poster that fell out the back of a truck, right? Because, hey, everything's cheaper when you steal the raw materials needed to produce them. Also, it has a little Viz thing in the corner, which, like, come on.
Well, that's why, to differentiate it from
Viz Media, but, like, that's not what the original looks like, and I'm kind of a stickler for the rules. Like, I don't like the Viz. I feel like maybe does that, like...
I feel like I would have placed it, because even on this one, you know, it has the Viz in the corner. I feel like that maybe I would have put it somewhere, like maybe just under the RWBY, really small, because I feel like that, like...
Or you make it opaque, or you put it on the box, or you put it on, like, the wrapper, or you do anything, because you don't want to...
Yeah, because I didn't notice that, because...
You know?
Oh no, that one says Rooster Teeth animation on it, on the bottom. That one says Rooster Teeth under it, I think.
The one thing that's different about that is that if you're a fan of RWBY, you're probably also a fan of Rooster Teeth.
I guess.
So, like, that's not as bad. Maybe I'm just being picky, and maybe I also feel like a chump that, like, the originals have Rooster Teeth and the new ones have Viz. I mean... Like, back in my day, chickens had teeth.
I know what you're saying. I think that the reason why they did this, though, is because this art is, again, illegally, if we want to call it that, floating around or whatever, so they needed to do something. What I will
also say, though, is that, like, is that what the...
I think one of the DVD covers looks like this.
Because that's not what the actual RWBY Volume 3, like, poster looked like, right? That's different. No, I guess that's what it looked like.
Yeah, so it was the same.
Maybe
it just says...
Oh, you know what it is? Because it says Volume 3 in the top, and this one it got rid of
Oh,
that.
yeah, okay. So
it
somehow they photoshopped out Volume 3.
It almost looks more zoomed in. Like, I think the Volume 3 art's really good. I kind of feel like the iconic one is Volume 1.
Yeah, it's kind of a weird... It's a weird lineup of what they have in here, but I'm assuming this is just, like, what they could do on a sort of short notice.
To be totally honest with you, like, 3's not my favorite. Like, I kind of think 4 and 5 and 6 and 9 are better.
Right. But I'm sure that they'll roll them out. What I'm saying is I feel like that, like, this was on Barbara's hard drive, and she was like, I have 3 shirts and a single poster. Will this do? And they were like, yeah, sure. Obviously, that's not how it happened. I'm sure that Viz has, like, the legitimate assets, but I feel like that this is literally, they were digging through hard drives, and this is what they found in there. It's gonna take some time before everything fully gets going. I don't like this one.
This feels like the second thing they ever made for RWBY.
Yeah, like, I don't know if, like, Rooster Teeth ever released something like this, because we obviously weren't here. It is 50% polyester and 50% cotton, so, like, that sounds
I've definitely seen
comfy.
people wear that before, so, like, no, it definitely existed.
This looks like a crew shirt. Like, I know it's a crew neck, but I'm saying a RWBY shirt that they would have gotten in production.
Yeah.
Like,
if
I
RWBY
feel like
was a live-action series, everyone in the studio would be wearing
like, I feel like I've seen this before. I do think it's too expensive for being, like, literally just the symbol. I know, again, if you guys have watched our videos before, we hate minimalism, so this is probably not for us.
No, I liked minimalism. This is fun. It's just a little basic. Can you scroll down for a second?
Yeah?
Again? Oh, look, it's the RWBY Volume 1 poster.
Oh,
it's a
man.
shame they didn't.
I'm sure they'll find it eventually. I'm sure.
You know the really pretty, iconic-looking one?
This, I'm like, forever full sap can shaped glass. Actually, okay, I changed my mind. I didn't realize that it was supposed to be like the jar. That's
Okay.
actually kind of cute.
Well, one, no, it's not, because those jars were freaking huge.
Well, whatever. I like that it's not just a
Yes.
jar.
Generic.
I
it
have
is.
been using a lot of jars for my water lately. But they're like jars that we have found, like, you know, in the cantina that haven't been used in 20 years that, we've washed, obviously. But you know what I mean? So I'm like, for a cup, I don't know, but like, I don't know, if you stay hydrated, it doesn't come with that straw? Okay, it comes with the metal straw, so that's
Kinda
okay.
nice. Protect the environment. I also like how they appear to have made cocktails.
Yeah, like,
They're
what
like, yeah,
was
you're
going
a
on
RWBY
for the
fan, you're of
marketing
legal
here?
drinking age now.
But yeah, so I'm kind of like, on this. If it came in like a package, because do you remember that they used to have the Crow collection and it
Yes,
came with
and
like,
it was, like,
a
pint
necklace and a
glasses, yeah.
shirt and the pint glass? Like if this was packaged as part of something else,
Did
even
RWBY
if it was
ever
the same
made shot
price.
glasses? Like,
Yeah,
that would
yeah,
be
they
pretty
did, I
great
think.
if there was like a RWBY, Weiss, Blake, Yang.
And then they did mugs
Shot
too.
glass.
So
I'd
like
love
if
that.
this was part of like Nora and you got this and you got like a Nora shirt and then maybe a pin or something, I'd be a bit more, but just I can't pay $40 Canadian to buy a cup. Okay, I
Sure,
like
blanket.
this
I
blanket.
like that.
It's just that it
$75,
looks like a
so-
chessboard.
Oh, and it can be bigger, so if you increase the
oh,
size.
that's actually nice. That's a very nice
$100.
quality. Oh, the price is going up.
That's
I guess that makes sense.
$108 Canadian.
Again, this is just kind of the issue
So
that
$50 American.
that I had with the other thing. Like, you guys are gonna think that I don't like Team RWBY. I was actually looking through screenshots in my phone for some reason and I found someone saying, why does Cal even watch this show if all she cares about is Neo? And I was like, God, like, please relax, it's gonna be okay. But yeah, like seeing this, I'm kind of like, oh, maybe I am that person.
It's a little
I
like,
just wish it
much.
had yeah, because it's so repetitive, right? Like with the, I don't know, like it stands out a lot more that the pattern's repeating, whereas if you had Ozpin and Oscar and like Emerald and Mercury, like it would seem a bit more random. And so I think that this is a good idea. I would have just liked to see everyone's emblem on it, because then it's like a little quilt, right? It's everybody's unique little patch, whereas this is just like, it's the same thing.
It's also, it's just visually very like messy, which like that's what quilt blanket look like. It also just weirdly reminds me of like my grandmother's old shack, like knitted pioneer
But do you
quilt
know what
she
I'm
had,
saying? Like,
but
look
anime.
at, like, the Nora one's always with the Weiss one. The Yang one's always with the
it's
Ren
a
one.
repeating
Like, I wish that
pattern,
they had changed it up a little bit. I don't know anything about manufacturing like that, though, so who knows? I think that this is, like, the best thing that is in here right now.
Probably.
I would get this if I could get free shipping. I don't know what the shipping's like on the website, but obviously with getting stuff in Canada, I have to be mindful. This is a shirt that I never got to have. And again, could you illegally download a shirt on Redbubble? Yeah, I guess
Would you pirate a t-shirt?
That's what I'm saying. You can pirate the t-shirt, I suppose.
You wouldn't download bacon.
But this is, it seems to be a more high quality pattern than the ones that have released online.
And it's longer, and that actually looks really good.
Especially like, it's not just a tiny little square in the middle of your chest like what the Rooster Teeth store used to do. And so even though we gave...
They are adding the Viz Media thing. They're
well,
really
you know, let them add the Viz Media, Hunter.
I don't know. Part of me feels like there should be like a separation of church and state.
We'll take a look at the other merch, like I said, but even though in the past we criticized the Rooster Teeth store for like reusing screenshots, I think in this case they get the pass because they haven't done this. You know what I mean? They just got here. This RWBY one I think is also really nice. I have never seen this one before. I know that it's just this art, right?
Yeah.
And then it's put on the shirt. But I really like it. I feel like they probably sold it before and then we just didn't.
I don't know, it's called the RWBY Heartthrob. Is it like...
Masculine t-shirts have the sleeves kind of down here, right?
Yeah.
But like a lot of women's shirts have the sleeves like
higher.
in the armpit. Like we're just
higher.
in
Very
the armpit, right? So I wonder if they're calling it heartthrob because we don't say women and men's anymore. And so if you look at the cut, Like, this man, he looks great, but this is a very feminine
but
cut,
also
you know
it
what I
says
mean?
heartthrob unisex
I
t-shirt,
know,
so
I know.
feel like
It's
undermines
technically unisex, but what I'm saying is I think that heartthrob is the cut, because if you look at our handsome man right here, that looks like...
He
like
he
a
actually
feminine cut,
no,
like,
he is
of the
quite
shirt.
handsome.
You know what I mean? Because, like, if you look at, like, how it's hugging his body very, tightly, like, this is a very feminine sort of shirt
I feel like we're catcalling this
No,
model.
I'm not. I'm just trying to explain.
If you
You
look
guys
at this
understand what I mean,
curvaceous
right?
model.
This holds up, guys. I'm not crazy, right? You guys see, those sleeves are so small. I do want to investigate maybe for another show. We're just doing a whole audit.
Yeah, all of them.
Okay, this bleach thing, that looks fun. That's funky.
Yeah.
I don't know what that is. Oh, what if they made a little Grim? That would be so cute.
That
Little
would be
Grim,
cute.
one of these. Not
That would be
Swy.
cute.
We hate Swy. We don't hate Swy, but we've made a
aggressive.
video about that before. Okay, we got some cups. Nice. We have pants. That would be nice too.
Better priced things. Maybe not, actually. I just saw a $55 t-shirt.
Okay, phone case. That's something that the Rooster Teeth store
Sure.
only did again at the 11th hour. That I think that would
At a
be
point of
really nice.
desperation.
But yeah. Oh my God, this is a big
Lot of Boruto stuff.
Boruto shirt. But yeah, so it's not bad. But what I was gonna say is I feel like that they opened up the Viz shop just for RWBY. Like, I know that that's not true, but I think that RWBY was definitely part of either it's the chicken or the egg, but I think that RWBY was definitely a consideration whenever they were planning this, because it seems like that everything else is sort of like, it's here, you know, the One Piece thing is here if you want.
I
but they
look at
needed a
this stuff-
storefront for
Yeah.
RWBY. Okay,
Oh,
can I
Sailor
just say,
Moon Monopoly.
Right, so I don't know how this happened. I don't know if Viz, like, organized this or they're just resell it. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
They're just selling an already existing
A
product.
RWBY Monopoly
we need
would be
the
amazing.
RWBY Monopoly, bestie. Like,
I
you
would
can't hold
buy
out on
RWBY
us like this.
Monopoly. Are you
I
joking?
don't know, because, yeah, that's the weird thing is that Viz doesn't have any other, like, Viz originals, I don't think, other than RWBY. At least, like, you know, Demon Slayer isn't a Viz original, right? So we can't really tell in terms of, like, what they're allowed to do or not, but...
Also, Sailor Moon puzzle? I'd be down for a RWBY
yeah,
puzzle.
we
That
need
looks
the
rad.
puzzles, we need the Monopoly, but I think that this is, like, I would generously
RWBY
give
Risk?
this...
I feel like RWBY Risk
Yeah,
could
that'd be fun. Or like
interesting.
the board game that's in. I know that this would be complicated, but remember Weiss and John? I don't know. Weiss
Well,
and RWBY, and
technically-
they all play a board game,
That is
right?
true. Technically, they did have a RWBY board game, and it was
No, not that. The
dog
one
crap.
that they play in
Yes, I know.
universe. What is it?
Like their Risk game.
Kingdom of
Yeah,
Remnant
Kingdoms
or
of
something.
Remnant.
I don't know. I just made that up. That may not be true. If I was being like ungenerous, I would be like 5 out of 10. Do better. What the heck? You know, if this was the Rooster Teeth store, but because it's the Viz store and taking the context into the consideration, I'm gonna give this a solid like 6 out of 5, 7. You did it. You know, you had a good start. Just do more, please, because this is not like, you know, I don't think it's enough, right?
It kind of strikes me as like this is like the proper medium. Like, I think half of all merchandise would be worse than this, and half of all merchandise would be better than this. You know?
I see what you're
So
saying.
if that's how I determine a 5. I don't know. I think I might have to give it a 4, just because I think 30% of merchandise would be worse than this, but I think 60% would be better.
I see what you're saying.
You know?
Because, yeah, the Rooster Teeth store, when it banged, they did bang, right? So,
And when they
yeah.
did awful, they did awful. This is interesting and it's good.
Yeah.
It's like a 7 or 8 out of 10 on like the me being more positive about like Viz's merchandising.
Yeah. But in terms of overall,
Yeah, 7, 8
right,
out of the hope
if
for
it
the
gets
future
worse
scale.
than this, then
Yeah.
we have a problem. Like, the only way that you can go is up, I
And you
think.
also don't get bonus points because I've seen this stuff before. you
Yeah,
know?
that's true. I wish that maybe, again, as they keep going, they will pull something out of the vault that we genuinely haven't seen. What that'll be, I can't say. But I'm glad that at least we get to do an anti-haul, or because we didn't do any, you know, for such
It
a
had been
long
so-
time. It had been
so
so
long.
long. With Viz, if you're watching this and you want to sponsor us, we both want... probably this one, right? We both want the shirt.
Yeah, I wouldn't say no. And like, yeah, I think I like the idea of them like whipping out the like classics again. I think bringing out more of the posters would be good. Bringing out the original poster, I think, would be a good idea.
Yeah, I think that as a baseline, all of the posters, eventually the DVDs, the soundtrack, like the physical media that people can purchase, and then we can get into a collection of, such and such, like how they had the metal collection and the floral and all of that sort of thing, right? And so I think that starting slow with just the essentials, like I'd consider the posters, the DVDs, all of that sort of stuff, like that should be essential on this website, and then occasionally if they switch stuff out, like, oh, it's Valentine's Day, here's the couple shirts, whatever, kind of more like, I guess, Has Been Hotel and Hell of a Boss do, I think that would make a lot of sense. But for now, yeah, good start, but please don't be finished because we're expecting a little bit more. I hope you guys enjoyed. Hope you guys had fun. Let us know if you want us to do anything else for anything else is what I was gonna say. That wasn't confusing at all.
That is also so goddamn vague.
Oh my god, I just mean like, okay, maybe we look at another. Does Arcane have merch? I don't know.
Different.
A different company,
yeah,
different
surpasses.
merch.
There's a word
I
for
don't know.
that.
I hope you guys.
Because we're experts at this. It's like Jimi Hendrix walking across a bunch of guitars.
What?
Right. Whenever I see a page of merchandise, I start to salivate.
Oh
I can rip it apart.
God. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed. I hope you guys had fun, and we will see you next time. Bye.